New Wine listeners, this is Michelle, and today I'm here with Donna and Anna Rogers. And I invited Anna to come and talk with us on New Wine because I've been a big fan of hers for a really, really long time. So I'm going to let her tell just a little bit about herself, like maybe tell us a little bit about like where you grew up, what you were doing, and what you're doing now.
Awesome. Hello, everybody. I am Anna Rogers, born and raised in Gainesville, Georgia, from when I was born all the way through high school. And then I ventured off to Birmingham, Alabama to go to Samford University for college, graduated with a degree in communications, and now have been living for about a year and a half in Chattanooga, Tennessee, working for an agency called Reliance Partners.
Yeah. And what's that been like?
Working there?
Yeah, and living on your own in Chattanooga.
It's definitely been a period of transition and growth and learning and hardship, honestly. But I definitely think that persevering through hard times produces growth, and overall it's been awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And so how old are you?
I'm 24.
Yeah. And I know Anna because I have been a long-term member of Gainesville First. And at Gainesville First, I just kind of watched Anna grow up. So you're 24?
Yes.
Okay. And not married?
Not married. Single as a Pringle.
I love it.
I like that. I'm going to use that. I'm single as a Pringle.
Yeah. So one of the things I was talking to Donna about when I wanted to interview you is as I kind of share social media space with you, I find your posts and the things that you talk about super encouraging. Mm. And so when I began to talk to Donna about one of the things that I think is important for women especially, but men as well, is this idea that we can be ourselves in our bodies, and that we can have love for that. And so I shared with Donna your Facebook post from February 9th of this past year, and
Yep, I'm looking at it.
She totally resonated with that. So I was going to let Donna kind of speak to that a little bit.
Well, can I read this, a little bit of this?
Sure, go for it.
Okay, so it says, for the first time ever today, I took my pullover off in the middle of my run. Did I probably have a roll or two somewhere? Absolutely. Was my stomach perfectly tight with zero jiggle? No way. But I felt strong, confident, and proud to be in my body. The capability to exercise is a gift. I know this firsthand as exercise has been taken away from me with injuries and such. Do I love every part of my body? Nope. But I am a work in progress. My relationship with my body is so much better than it's been in the past. Here's the thing. This is good. Media will always tell us there's some way we can be and look better. But if you're striving to live a healthy, balanced life and putting your best foot forward in all you do, what else can you ask for? I don't share this to say, hey, look at my body. Me sharing this is actually way out of my comfort zone. Yeah. But instead, I share this to encourage you to love yourself and love others. Just in case you have forgotten lately, you matter, you are loved, you are worthy. Woo! I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah, like just to admit that taking off your pullover was something you never did. I mean, that's super vulnerable. And I have a lot of respect for that, to tell people, you know, because we all do. We tie it around our waist, right? Mm-hmm. When we run. I don't run. Michelle runs. I'm a walker.
Yeah.
Rarely, but I walk. So, and I was telling Michelle earlier that so much about what you stand for, it's almost like you just came out of the gates like with this confidence. Mm. You know, I met you several years ago. We started singing. And I always felt like I had great rapport with you and that I could relate to you. You know, we're not super petite girls. Right. And we were both tall. Mm-hmm. And, you know, you're super athletic. And I just loved watching you get on stage and sing and do you. But you have grown in more confidence each year that passes. and now you're coaching people. You're kind of a life coach,
Mm.
right? Yeah.
Maybe a little.
Yeah. I see that because health and wellness, I mean, that's life, right?
Right.
So, but we were talking briefly, Michelle and I'm like, I can really relate, just dating. That's
Mhm.
always tricky when
Yes.
you're a taller woman. I'm 6 feet. How tall are you?
5'9".
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the fact that you just wear your own skin and you're so confident and you're helping others, I just love that. And you're young, you're just starting out in life and
Right.
you're like, hey, I'm going to go grab the reins and help others. I mean, what brought you from, everybody's insecure. So how
Mhm.
did you go from that to a leader in body image?
It's definitely something that is a daily battle for me. I am not confident every single day, but my whole life, I developed really early on in life and went through puberty earlier than a lot of my friends. So at a younger age, I just really struggled with, I was taller than everybody else and just kind of shifted into a woman faster than a lot of my friends. And that was really hard for me because,
You mean you're curvy?
yeah, very curvy.
Let's hear it for the curvy
quickly.
girls.
Yes. But I really started working on myself and confidence after not being able to exercise because of an injury. I was out for 6 months of my freshman year of high school because I had to get a major knee surgery. And I wasn't by any means like a fitness guru, but I was playing sports year round and always exercising. And then having that taken away from me, I realized how much I enjoyed it. It was something, we all complain like, oh, I got to run or whatever it may be. But when it's taken away from you, not by choice, it really shifts your perspective. And for me, I had to find, how can I get to where I'm even better coming back on the other side of this. And I had to actually stop playing basketball, and that's where my injury came from. So that's actually how I transitioned into musical theater, which
Yep.
ended up being such a blessing. And I was able to play volleyball still, which was great. But just through that, since I wasn't playing basketball anymore, I started working out and seeing it more as a privilege, more of a I get to instead of I have to. And from there, it's definitely something I still struggle with, but I've just seen from high school to college into young adulthood, everybody struggles with it. And most people, everyone responds to their insecurities differently. Some people joke about it I just have such a big booty. So,
Yeah.
but, and I've noticed that, the different reactions to it.
And there's reverse lack
Right.
of booty.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I know. Have you seen Taylor Swift's Miss Americana? Gotta
Yeah.
watch
I haven't
that.
seen
It's
it
good.
yet.
You'll like it.
Okay.
But in that documentary, just super quick, she says, I was like a size 0 and starving, and then I didn't have a big enough booty to satisfy some people. And then so if I had a big enough booty, then I had a belly. She's like, I couldn't. And she goes, and then people would post pictures of me and say I was pregnant. And my heart, I connected to her in that way. And I was like, what are we doing to our women and our men? This is not just a gender thing, but she's a woman, I'm a woman, so I'm speaking from a woman's perspective. And so how have you navigated that quagmire?
Now, are you asking, navigating
Like
both
the
sides?
image side of it versus am I bigger or smaller or what?
Yeah, I definitely think some of it in high school. I had a lot of friends who struggled with eating disorders on both sides of the spectrum. And, that was something that took a lot of prayer for me. Is something that I really struggled with was if I'm a size 10 in jeans and this girl is a size 6 and she thinks that she's fat, then how does she see me?
Oh my,
Because
yeah.
I'm so much bigger than her. And that's something I really had to spend some time working on. But then again, I have heard of those people who are like, I'm so skinny and I don't have a booty or I don't have curves or whatever it is. And I've spent a lot of time through counseling and through prayer and through journaling. I love looking at where I'm at a year ago, praying about body image stuff, and then revisiting it a year later and seeing the growth through that has been a big game changer for me, but I think the biggest thing is it's something that everybody struggles with, but each person's struggle looks a little bit different.
Yeah.
So if I can encourage other people to love themselves, you know, that's what I want. I want people to love themselves as they are, because ultimately there's always going to be something or someone or some outside source telling you need to be this or you need to look this way. And at the end of the day, if you're doing your best to be your best self, that's really all you can ask for.
On this podcast, we talk about faith. How has faith factored into this journey for you?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the biggest things that helped me grow through struggling with self-image from a faith perspective, I read a book by Annie F. Downs called Perfectly Unique, and unique is spelled Younique, and each chapter is about a different body part and how people as humans typically look at that body part versus the Lord's intended use for that body part. And I had never thought of it any other way than like my stomach is big or my arms are bulky or whatever it may be, but seeing, you know, something as simple as taste and see that the Lord is good. Like the Lord intends for us to taste good foods. And that was something that was really eye-opening for me from a faith perspective, seeing, you know, it's not just about the physical body. There's so much more. And like praying a lot through thinking about the physical body versus like when we, hopefully, if I make it up there one day, it's not going to be our physical body. Like it's not going to matter. None of that's going to be with us. And I think laying that down was a really big weight off of my shoulders.
Yeah. You know, Donna, you wrote a song using that Psalm 139 scripture that says, you're fearfully and you're wonderfully made. Who I am is the lyric of the song. And when you think about how God is putting you together and weaving you and constantly working in you and through you and for you and on you, right? You have to kind of think about that as opposed to comparing yourself to someone else. How have you kind of moved beyond comparison, which is, I think, something we all struggle with?
Definitely something. I would say a main source is because of media, the comparison comes from. And for me, I've had to really kind of go through what my feed looks like on Instagram or Facebook or whatever it may be. And truthfully, this may seem harsh, but if there's a person who I know that I compare myself to, like I'll either like hide their feed or unfollow them, because ultimately it's not life-giving seeing something and then feeling worse about myself where I know that's not their intended use. Like they're just posting a picture just like anybody else, but if it makes me feel worse about myself, it's not serving a purpose anymore. And so I think just doing that, going through my followers or noticing now if I see someone and I'm like, oh no, like here come the negative thoughts. I'm comparing my arms to hers or whatever it is. You can mute someone's feed so you don't have to take the harsh move of unfollowing, but it's limited to seeing only the things that you would like to see. And doing that has really helped me shift away from the comparison.
I think that's an important move.
It's great advice, really.
And it's biblical. I was just thinking, I connect a lot back to whatever's in scripture, and this is it says guard your heart, and I can tell when those feelings are coming up, it's time to guard. And I think that's kind of what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Donna, you were talking about
department stores.
I wanted you to talk about that.
I don't know why I thought about this. I was like, okay, what are we going to talk about with Anna today? And one of the things I thought of is like, man, when you go in the department stores to go shopping, they kind of herd you like cattle to wherever you're supposed to go. Like if you're a petite, you go over here. This is your area.
Mm.
And if you're a taller person, well, you're just out of luck because there's no true tall section. Do you hear me, people out there who are tall?
For females.
Forget
there's-
about
yeah,
it. Okay.
yeah.
You don't buy what you like. You just buy what fits.
Right.
And then, you know, if you're a plus size, I don't even like the plus.
I don't either.
What's up with the plus?
Mhm.
Plus what? Plus bad? Plus, anyway.
Mhm.
So we've kind of categorized our entire clothing on the retail side, you know, to kind of label,
Mm.
you know, and you're over here, you're petite. And I know there's some petite ladies who wish they were taller, or I don't know. So I feel like we instantly are kind of pushed into this grouping. Oh, this is what you are, you know. And growing up, I'll never forget my brother. He was a big guy too, but he was in the husky section.
Mm.
You know, what kind of word is that? Husky. Do they do that anymore? That's like super old, right?
I no. I'm looking at my son Boone is up here with us, and
Yeah,
he's,
Boone's in the
he's
house.
21, and he's like, no, they don't do that.
But do you remember that?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Oh
okay.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, how weird.
Yeah. You had to get six husky or 6 slim.
Mm.
Anyway, let's just go ahead and let's just, you know, scrape the scab off and make them
Yeah.
feel weird. I don't know.
Let's make a shame swirl right in the middle of the department store. I had that happen to me the other day. I was
Oh, and the
shopping with a dear
mirrors.
friend, and
There's like mirrors on
she
every
was like,
angle.
I can't shop in the section that you're in. I was like, okay, I'll see you later.
Yep. Yep.
And so she went over to her section, and I was in my section, and I was like, this feels awful.
Mm.
So thank you for bringing that
yeah,
up.
I know it's a practical perspective, you know, well, let's just get them all where they can go to the same place or whatever. But even in the dressing rooms, there's like mirrors on every side, and you're like, "Ugh, hey, do you hate dressing rooms? I have always hated dressing rooms. I mean, I'll just buy it off the rack and bring it back. I am not trying on clothes, you know? So that's probably one of my things is growing up. Just this resonates with me because I stuck out. You know, I wasn't typical height, size, whatever. But I do think as a general rule, we have a tendency to we love labels. We like to put labels on things,
Right.
and it kind of becomes who you are. Sometimes you put it on like a piece of clothing,
Yeah.
you know, and you wear it around for life,
Mhm.
and then you discover at some point, well. Yeah, I don't want to be defined that way anymore. And then
it's
you,
not even true, is
yeah,
it?
no. And then you learn. And then, but one of the things I love about you, Anna, is your confidence. And I just think that you have the ability, and I know Michelle and I, that's important to us too, to bring along people who are coming up behind us, who might be younger, looking to us in whatever shape or form that looks like. You probably have younger women and men that look to you. Like, what do you say?
Mhm.
And I've mentored some young girls in my past, and fortunately none of them have really had a tremendous challenge with any of the eating disorders, but body image is huge. But what do you say to the 14-year-old girl that is eating and then throwing up after she eats, has bulimia
Mhm.
issues, and
Mhm.
you know, those types of things? What do you say?
I mean, I haven't had a specific scenario of a younger girl, but one of my best friends struggled with bulimia, and you know, I think the biggest piece of advice is it's not something that you can carry on your own. That's a boundary I've had to set in a lot of my relationships is, you know, I want to be able to hear you and listen and relate to you, but at the same time, you know, I'm not a licensed professional. And so, you know, I definitely just offer just words of encouragement. I've offered recommended the book Perfectly Unique to 1,000 people at this point, just because it's helped me. And, you know, I think the biggest thing is people want to be heard. Even if you can just sit there, because a lot of times they just want to be heard. They're not looking for feedback or advice. They just want someone to know, hey, this is what I'm struggling with. And then from there, you have the opportunity to pray over them. I'm a big advocate of that. Like, hey, you know, I hear you out. I can't imagine what you're going through right now, but can I just take this moment to pray with you and offer? And a lot of people I've had to say, you know, counseling, I think, has a negative connotation to some extent. I think that connotation is going away now more so. However, I think just because you want to go to counseling or need help doesn't mean you have a problem. It means you're struggling with something and you want a third party outsider to listen to you.
Or maybe you just want to get better at something and you need someone to bounce that off of. I mean, that's why I started going.
Yeah.
I've made no secret of that on this podcast that I see a counselor, and I think it's been hard, but it's been very positive. Anna, do you think do we get too focused on our outer body? Is it possible to be too focused on it?
Yeah, I do. Mm-hmm.
And how do you move beyond that?
I don't know if there's one cookie cutter answer to this, but the biggest thing I think I've seen is like, how am I nourishing my body? How am I bettering myself? Because I think there's so much like, okay, if I only eat vegetables for a month, maybe I'll lose
a lot out there like that,
30 pounds or whatever it is. But here's the thing, like, especially if you're an exerciser, you need carbohydrates to fuel. This is your body's first preferred fuel source. Wow, I butchered that one. But you gotta change your perspective of how is this nourishing my body? How am I from a holistic perspective, holistic health, whether spiritual, emotional, physical, it all matters. It's not just the physical. And whether that's, I know on days where I'm feeling really vulnerable or feeling low about my body, my go-to, and you can do it on demand, is Les Mills Body Flow. It's a yoga, Pilates, Tai Chi class, and at the end there's meditation. And, that takes me away from my physical body. It gives me a minute to just
integrates you. Yeah, mind, soul, body, spirit.
Yeah, so I don't know if there's one specific answer, but just trying to take a step back and really focus on how am I fueling my body from a nutrient perspective, from a physical perspective. Am I overdoing? Am I underdoing? Because there's always going to be somebody telling you need to do X, Y, Z, or you need to try the keto diet, or you need to do Whole30, or you need to do Weight Watchers, or whatever it is. That's always going to be there. But
the cabbage soup diet.
Oh, I hadn't heard that one. Only eat cabbage soup? Is that a thing?
I think so. I vaguely remember doing that at some point.
The Michelob Ultra diet.
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. That's not a thing. That's not a thing. That's not a thing. But you do fitness. I mean, you teach fitness, don't you?
I do.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah. So Brooke Burt, one of my dear friends who lives in Gainesville also, she was my English teacher in high school. And toward the end of my senior year of high school, school was fading out, and Brooke and I would run into each other at the gym. And Lakeview's a smaller school, so it wasn't weird to be kind of friends with your teacher. And she's someone I've always really admired and looked up to. And she invited me to come to a body pump class with her. Never been, was super intimidated because I had only.
It's
been
hard to
going
go in somewhere
Zumba.
new,
It
man.
is. It's tough, but going with a friend makes a big difference.
It's kind of like church.
It is true, and just really enjoyed it. And we started going together. I think finding community in an exercise that you enjoy is huge. That way you can shift it from I have to go work out to, I get to go do body pump today, or whatever that is, Pure Barre, Orange Theory, whatever it is for you. And then after that, we both decided to become instructors, and now I teach that class and one other class called Body Attack. It's not as scary as it sounds. It's like a HIIT cardio workout, but I love teaching classes because I get to be an instructor who is curvier, who is taller, and show people regardless, because always in my room I have really skinny people, I have curvier people, I have men, I have women, and being able to get up there and say, being fit doesn't equal size, whatever. Being up there and being able to say, you don't have to look a certain way to be fit is
awesome.
My primary reason for teaching.
Yeah.
Do you think we overlook the pressures on men in the same kind of context and body image? I know we got a lot of female perspective here, but I don't know. I'm not a guy, but we have a few in the room here. But I think that we maybe overlook that a little bit.
I agree.
I would imagine that's it's difficult for them too in some ways.
One of my best guy friends, he's like 6'6", and he's really lean and tall, and he's like, oh, like, I'm so skinny, I want to be muscly. So I think regardless of gender, age, whatever it may be, there's always this more of or different.
Yeah,
of
I mean,
what
that's the reason I brought up the Taylor Swift thing earlier. I'm like, you would look at her and never imagine
right.
that she struggled with any kind of body image stuff. She's so attractive and looks like she's got everything. And if you watch the documentary, you see, that's that every single person has their things.
Absolutely.
They have their things. Well, before we let you, I wanted to ask you a couple questions, like, because you and I were talking earlier in the week, and I was like, okay, so I am older than you. What do you want this generation to know as a 24-year-old confident woman starting in the workplace? What would you love this generation to know?
So my specific generation.
What would your generation like my generation to know?
Got it. I would say the biggest thing for, like, if you're talking to a college student or a recent college grad, please don't ask them, what's your major? Please don't ask them, what jobs are you interviewing for? Because it's anxiety producing. Really it is, especially if you don't have an answer to that. As if you're a freshman or sophomore in college, like, you shouldn't have it figured out yet. It's all right if you don't. If you grew up and you're like, I want to be a doctor, and you know that, awesome. But I definitely didn't know. I changed majors like 4 or 5 times before I
still don't know what I want to do.
Yeah, right. I just say meet people where they're at. And, there's just so much more than those stereotypical questions. Ask them, what's been your favorite part of college so far? What are you struggling with? How can I be praying for you with what you're dealing with? Or if it's someone who's home and looking for a job, like, what are you interested in? What have you found out that you're not interested in?
Those are good questions.
Yeah. How can I connect? Do I have anyone that I could connect you to? Just saying, I'm here for you more so than like the cookie cutter questions, I think is huge.
Yeah. I've always enjoyed being a student of people your age, because I think you're wicked smart, and everything new that I want to learn, I'm going to your age group to learn it. Have you found a receptivity to your input in your workplace and in, just in life? Or is it, okay, go sit over in the corner until you get some experience?
Luckily, I'm in we're like a medium-sized company now. However, when I started, we were more on the small side. So I think that
there you go. Because Anna, right? Yeah.
But that provided a lot of opportunities for growth. And, for example, I got really interested. We had an intern come over the summer, and when I joined into our marketing department, we didn't have a formal training. And so when our intern came, I kind of took her under my wing and trained her because I didn't have that formal training. And then after that, I realized how interested I was in that and asked, like, hey, I'm really interested in this. Can I try and develop a training for our marketing team specifically, so when we take on new hires, they have something with structure? And now they were like, yeah, go for it. Presented it. Of course, there was some constructive criticism and feedback, but now I'm training all of our new hires in marketing. So I definitely think it's an environment that's really receptive to growth and going for things that you are interested in.
So they like your innovation.
Yeah, definitely.
I love that. I am in the faith-based world, and sometimes innovation is not something that we get into so much. And we're taping this in the middle of the corona. We're keeping our good distance and everything, but we're taping this during the early parts of the quarantine of corona, and
not the beer, the virus.
Yeah. Would that it was. But without like some people like you on the team, I don't know how we move forward. And church is being asked to stretch like big time now because we can't meet together. So I'm grateful for people who can bring some innovation.
I like innovation.
I know you do.
They laugh at me because I get so innovative. It's like I'm on another planet sometimes. So you have to reel me in. How do people find you if they want to follow you or they want to take your class? I mean, how do they do that?
Yeah. I have all the medias. So Facebook is just Anna Rogers, Rogers. And Instagram is Anna Caroline Rogers. I don't have Twitter. I don't really use Snapchat. And then I also have a personal blog where I post a lot of self-care type of posts, and a link to that blog is in my Instagram profile. And if you
Oh.
ever want anything, shoot me an email, shoot me a direct message. Happy to talk with you about your struggle.
That's great.
I like that. That's kind of what we wanted to do with this podcast, you know, bring people in like you and hear their stories and I always think that the more true you are to yourself and how you are designed, and I use that word very intentionally, designed, that you will be able to be your most successful self when we are our true selves
Yeah.
and we embrace the gifts and talents we have, and that's what I see in you.
Well, thank you.
And I
That's very kind.
love that about you. Your mom and daddy did good.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jan and Trav.
Hey.
Yeah, we love them. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you. Single as a Pringle.